Hi everyone, let's talk about basic image processing today. As always, I am using the Fiji distribution of ImageJ, and let's start with this very simple pattern. I'm going to use this pattern so that we can see the effect of different filters we're going to apply to this. So this image has black and gray circles, lines, boxes, and if you zoom into this area, you see quite a bit of noise. And let's say that we want to get rid of this. We can get rid of this noise by applying a smoothing filter. Now, I want to keep this original image, so I'm going to go to Image and duplicate to make another one. And let's zoom into about the same area. Okay, now to get rid of the noise, we are going to go to Process, and you can choose the Smooth menu, but this one doesn't give you a lot of choices, so instead we're going to go to Filters. Then you see a lot of different filters you can apply, not just smoothing. Let's start with Gaussian blur. This is a classic smoothing filter. Let's start with something small, let's say 2 pixels radius, and you can check preview to see how it would go. Okay, so this is not too bad, but I still see kind of lighter, darker areas, so let's say I'm going to be aggressive and do 5. So this is completely smooth. You know, the noise is gone. So let's say I'm happy with this and I click OK. Now the noise is gone, but let's zoom out to see what happened to the entire image. Now we realize that the noise is gone, but the edges or the resolution is gone too, and everything got kind of blurred. So this is not too good. This is not what we wanted. Now we use the Gaussian blur, and Gaussian blur is known to do this. It's really good at smoothing the noise out, but it smooths out the edges too. Now what if we use something else then? So going back to the original, and I'm going to duplicate it again. I just did a Control-Shift-D to make another one. And this time, let's choose something else. For example, median filter. So median filter is known to be really good at getting rid of the noise while keeping the edges sharp. So let's check preview, and as we did for Gaussian filter, let's do the same 5 and click apply. So let's compare the results. So this is the Gaussian blur and this is the median filter. Both of them use the 5 pixels as radius. And you can see that Gaussian filter might have done a better job getting rid of the noise, but again, you're just blurring out the edges, which is not the case when you use a median filter. So this looks pretty good. So let's say I'm going to keep this one. Now, this is probably a good point to think about this question. So why are we doing this smoothing? In most cases, you do this to make it easier to do the image segmentation. Let's say that we want to segment this original image into black areas and everything else. And to do that, you can go to Image, Adjust, and Threshold. If you use the original image, you realize that the gray areas are partially selected. That's not what we really want. We want to select the black areas, but not the gray areas. Now let's look at those 2 lines, black and gray lines. You can always adjust the threshold to select the black areas, but not the gray areas. I'm trying to bring this down. Now at this point, this gray is not selected. That's good, but those black areas now have holes. If I try to fill those holes, then gray area gets selected too. So the thresholding is not working very well in this case. But once you do smoothing or noise reduction, zoom into this similar area, and let's say apply the same threshold. So in this case, by just adjusting the threshold, you can more or less, that's too much, okay. You can stay away from this gray line but select at least most of the black areas. So you can see that the smoothing can make your segmentation easier or cleaner. Okay, so we're just doing this on this simple pattern, but let's do the same thing using an actual CT scan. So let me bring this guy in. So this is a CT scan of a foam material, and it's a CT scan meaning that it's a stack of a multiple 2D slices. Okay, and the darker gray area is air, and the lighter gray area is the polymer. Let's say we want to segment those two phases into two so that we can maybe quantify their volumes. If you use the original image and try to just select the dark air areas, it's really difficult. I'm trying to close those holes. If you do that, you select the polymer. If you try to stay away from the polymer, then you get holes in the air section. So you can see that this is not going to work really well. Now, this is when you want to try smoothing. So I'm going to duplicate this image and check this. When you're dealing with the CT scans, always remember to apply whatever you're doing to the entire stack, not just one slice you're looking at. So I duplicated the entire stack like this, okay? Now we're gonna apply a filter. We know that the medium filter works relatively well, so let's do this. Okay, this looks not too bad, so I'm gonna just go ahead and apply it. Again, yes, I want to apply this to the entire stack. So now ImageJ is applying the filter to all 200 slices. Now let's try segmentation. Okay, so you see that everything is kind of smooth, less noisy. And select, you can select different default thresholding, but let's do default. You see how much cleaner this segmentation is compared to the original one? All the air parts are selected, the polymer is not selected, at least not much. And if you're happy with this, you can apply it. And now you have a binarized 3D image, and you can quantify those two phases. Okay, so this is kind of very basic overview of smoothing filter. And as I always talk about, there are better ways to do this. You can use machine learning or deep learning, but I think it's good to know on how kind of traditional, conventional image processing and segmentation works. But when you do this, smoothing for example, always remember that you are manipulating the original image, and that manipulation can cause artifacts. In this example, you can see that there is a clear polymer wall here between two pores, but after the smoothing, that wall is gone. And this type of a change of the image or the results can always happen when you do smoothing. So when you do this type of processing, do this cautiously. Okay, I hope you find this useful, and thank you for watching.